The overhaul of the fuel pumps of the large K-type engines is normally carried out by exchanging the plunger and barrel assembly. The plunger and barrel must be dismantled and fitted as a unit, as the plunger must not be withdrawn from the barrel. In this film, part of the overhaul procedure has been carried out on a sectional model of a pump to illustrate the application and function of the different tools. Before dismantling the pump lead must be measured and the result noted down. This is done for adjusting purposes after reassembly. The pump lead is the number of millimeters which the pump plunger is raised from its bottom position when the corresponding piston of the engine is in top dead center. The engine piston is turned to top dead center and the two small plug screws on top of the pump are removed. Insert the legs of the measuring tool in the two holes. The legs land on top of the pinion nut in the top cover. Press the measuring pin home in the center hole of the plunger and secure it with the thumb screw. Now lift the tool out of the pump and note down the measured result. Remove the 4 cap nuts and the 8 fitting nuts of the top cover. Insert 2 eye bolts in the threaded holes for the screws of the high pressure pipe. Turn the adjusting screw anti-clockwise to separate the top cover from the pump barrel and housing, and carefully lift the top cover by means of the crane. The lifting tool supplied with the engine locks the plunger and barrel together in the correct position for dismantling. Place the lifting tool on the pump housing so that the guide lug enters the recess for the adjusting spindle. Secure the tool to the top edge of the barrel using 2 cap nuts. Press down the spindle of the tool and turn so that the pins of the spindle enter the holes on top of the plunger. Then tighten the spindle by means of the center screw. Dismantle the arm for the regulating guide of the pump. Screw the red tool arm onto the regulating guide and turn this until the arm abuts against the right-hand edge of the cutout in the pump housing. This will make the plunger foot turn in the bayonet joint so that the plunger can be lifted out. Raise the plunger some 10 to 20 millimeters by hand and press down the locking ring against the crossbar and lock it. Then carefully lift out the plunger and barrel assembly and lay it on a couple of wooden blocks. Dismantle the lifting tool and push the plunger entirely into the barrel. The next part of the film shows how to replace the sealing ring around the pump plunger and how to overhaul the suction valve. Set up the pump barrel and plunger in a bench vise provided with copper jaws, and pull the plunger a little out of the barrel. Loosen the circular nut with the aid of the face spanner and a copper hammer, and screw it out from the barrel. Then carefully pull the plunger out and put it down on the bench. Remove the 2 rubber rings from the barrel, clean the barrel with kerosene and blow it dry with compressed air. Set up the plunger in the vise and slide off the spacer and the sealing ring. Take off the circular nut and clean away the jointing tape. Remove the outer and inner rubber rings from the spacer, clean the spacer in kerosene and blow it dry. Fit the circular nut on the plunger and take out a new set of sealing and rubber rings. Fit a new rubber ring on the sealing ring and slip this onto the plunger. Clamp the pump barrel in the vise and lubricate the inside with molybdenum disulfide. Fit a new outer rubber ring on the spacer, apply molybdenum disulfide and insert the spacer in the pump barrel. Now coat the plunger with molybdenum disulfide and insert it in the pump housing. Slide the sealing ring into position in the spacer and press it home with the circular nut, which is then screwed out again. Now carefully withdraw the plunger from the barrel. The spacer and sealing ring will follow the plunger. Check that the sealing ring and the rubber ring are correctly positioned in the spacer. Replace the plunger in the barrel and apply jointing tape to the thread of the circular nut. Push the plunger and spacer into the pump barrel, screw up the circular nut, tighten it and secure it with a punch mark. Fit new rubber rings on the barrel and push the plunger completely in. The assembly is now ready for mounting in a pump housing or for storing as spares. It is important to remember that in order to avoid damaging the sealing ring, the plunger must never be pulled more than 100 millimeters out of the barrel. When overhauling the suction valve, the top cover is clamped in the vise and the pinion nut for the adjusting device is screwed off. Undo the locking plate and screw off the spring retainer. Take out the spring and valve disc and check the disc. A valve disc whose seat is damaged cannot be ground but must be replaced by a new disc. A damaged suction valve seat can be ground with the aid of the grinding mandrel supplied. Before grinding, all the openings in the seat are to be filled with Vaseline to prevent grinding paste from entering the ducts. The valve seat is ground with carborundum number 500. When the seat has been wiped dry and checked, the Vaseline is blown out of the valve housing with compressed air. Note that the blowing direction is the same as the oil flow direction through the valve. When the Vaseline has been blown out, the valve housing is washed in kerosene, then blow dry and lubricate inside with molybdenum disulfide. Fit the valve disc and spring in place. Screw the spring retainer on and lock it. Before screwing the pinion nut onto the top cover, the thread is lubricated with molybdenum disulfide. Before fitting a new barrel and plunger, the tool must be so adjusted that the plunger is guided into position and locked correctly in the roller guide during assembly. The adjustment is carried out with a measuring rod of exactly the same length as the plunger, and this rod is screwed on to the spindle of the lifting tool. Place the lifting tool on the pump housing and press down the spindle to make the measuring rod rest on the steel disc in the roller guide. Press the spindle locking ring down against the crossbar and tighten it. Then take the lifting tool up. Screw off the measuring rod and fit the lifting tool on the new barrel assembly. Screw the tool spindle onto the plunger top and press it down until the locking ring rests on the crossbar. The barrel and plunger assembly is very carefully lowered into position. If, during during lowering, the locking ring of the spindle is lifted from the crossbar, this indicates that the plunger foot has not entered the cutout of the roller guide. In that case, the lowering is stopped immediately and the plunger is turned a little until the plunger foot enters the cutout of the roller guide. When the plunger is in position, the regulating guide is turned so that the tool arm touches the left-hand side of the cutout in the pump housing, whereby the plunger is locked in the bayonet joint of the roller guide. Take off the tool arm, fit the regulating arm, and dismantle the lifting tool. Before mounting the top cover, turn the adjusting spindle clockwise to screw the pinion nut right up against the cover. Fit the top cover in place on the pump housing and tighten it with the cover nuts. Before adjusting the lead of the pump, make sure that the piston of the engine cylinder concerned is in top dead center. Place the measuring tool on the top cover and screw the pinion nut downwards by turning the adjusting spindle in an anti-clockwise direction until the measuring tool indicates the same setting as was noted down during the dismantling of the pump. Now take up the measuring tool and insert the plug screws in the holes. After fitting and tightening the cap nuts, the pump is ready for the mounting of high pressure pipes.